Our story begins in the 14th century BC, where ancient Canaanite clay tablets unveil the earliest recorded scripture of tears. These Ras Shamra texts discovered in Ugarit by accident in 1928 tell a gripping narrative of Baal, the earth god, and his sister Anat's grief. A poignant verse describes Anat's sorrow. Anat continued sating herself, with weeping to drink tears like wine. The significance of tears go beyond grief. Anat's tears in myth bring Baal back to life, echoing themes in other myths involving gods like Osiris, Marduk, Tammuz, and Gilgamesh. These symbols of death and rebirth tied to seasonal rituals. Scholar Wittberg, who transcribed the text, suggests a fascinating link to pre-Hebrew Canaanite rituals. Picture a tribe in the desert, transitioning from tears to laughter for over several days, viewing emotional expression and unity. The Hebrew Bible reflects traces of these crying rituals adopted from Baal's worshippers, with psalms expressing the idea that those who sow in tears will reap with joy. This belief is echoed and emphasized in the New Testament, with passages in Luke and John incorporating these notions as axioms for everyday life. Fast forward to ancient Rome and Greece, where an interesting but controversial tale of tear bottles come to light. It is said that mourners would capture their tears in bottles made out of glass and terracotta, and when the tears have evaporated, the mourning period is over. In the records, it seems that these bottles found in burial sites were mostly filled with frankincense and other perfumed substances. Yet, this tale came back to light. Perhaps in the Victorian era, this was the best way to market this tool. This is part of our culture. This is part of our being. We romanticize all things, and some parts of history might be controversial, and some part of it might just be romance. In the midst of the Renaissance Europe, groundbreaking discoveries in science and medicine came on. The understanding of tears took a curious turn. While the ancients linked tears to emotions, Renaissance thinkers shifted the focus to the mind. Hippocrates, the father of medicine, believes that tears served as a release for excess humors from the brain. Aristotle, the great philosopher, proposed that tears had a cleansing effect on suppressed emotions. Ovid, the Roman poet, echoed this sentiment, stating, "It is some relief to weep. Grief is satisfied and carried off by tears." Despite the flourishing knowledge of the Renaissance, the understanding of human physiology remained elusive. However, a pivotal moment arrived in 1662 when Danish scientist Niels Stensen made a groundbreaking discovery. He identified the lacrimal gland as the true origin of tears. Stensen's revelation marked a turning point, prompting others to reconsider the purpose of tears. Could there be a deeper evolutionary benefit to this seemingly emotional expression? Now let's delve into the biology of tears. Basal tears are essential tears released consistently in small amounts to keep the cornea moist and contribute to the immune system's defense as an antibacterial property. Reflex tears are triggered by irritants or certain actions serving to flush out and protect the eyes. These are typically released in large quantities in the basal tear. Now, most animals have those tears as function, and the thing that makes us unique are the aspect of emotional tears. Emotional tears respond to intense emotions such as sadness, anger, grief, joy, gratitude, hope, awe, and wonder. Emotional tears are released in larger amounts than basal tears and can match or surpass the volume of reflex tears. Unlike basal or reflex tears, emotional tears can be consciously suppressed or halted by an individual. In addition to the enzymes, lipids, metabolites, and electrolytes that make up any tears, emotional tears contain more protein. This is a very important point for later when we ask the question, Why do we have emotional tears? In the intricate tapestry of humanity, emotions weave a profound narrative. Cultural studies reveal intriguing connections between crying, subjective well-being, wealth, political freedom, and individualism. In these studies, they mainly test three hypotheses. The distress model, which conceptualizes crying as a reflection of distress and leads to a hypothesis that in more demanding countries, one cries more than in less demanding countries. This, however, had found no correlation. It was actually seen that crying was positively associated with happiness and wealth. Secondly, the expressiveness model views crying as a form of emotional expressiveness and expect countries that are looser and allow more freedom of expression of individual feelings to cry more. This hypothesis was strongly supported, and you could see this in democratic countries and individualistic countries report a lot more crying. Finally, the personality model. Using the 5-factor model, otherwise known as the OCEAN model for its acronym, stating openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism, was also partially confirmed to extent. The participants in countries with high levels of extroversion reported more crying. In addition, differential patterns of extroversion measured based on sociability versus assertiveness illustrated the nature of crying in that country level. To summarize the cross-cultural findings, people tend to cry more frequently when they live in a wealthier, more democratic, more individualistic, or less hierarchical countries. With a higher level of extroversion brings us a higher level of expressiveness and tolerance for these certain behaviors. Some of the psychological theories for human emotional crying is way out there. One of these being that tears help humans live in saltwater as aquatic apes. Others suggest that crying removes toxic substances from the blood during stress. This lacks strong empirical support, as the amount of cortisol released is not great enough for effect. One emerging plausible theory suggests that tears play a role in triggering social bonding and human connection. Emotional tears contain more protein, leading to the hypothesis that higher protein content make emotional tears move slower down the cheek and stick to the skin as it runs down, making them more noticeable to others. Tears may also signal vulnerability, which is crucial for human connection. Seeing someone emotional aroused can activate seminal neural areas in the brain, fostering empathy and compassion. As we conclude our journey through the intricate tapestry of tears, we've explored rituals, biology, psychology, and cultural dynamics. I hope to see you again soon.